What's up, y'all? You're now listening to the What Now podcast. I'm Dr. Spencer Dupre, owner of Empower Chiropractic.
And I am Dr. Zach Thompson, owner of Within Chiropractic. The purpose of this podcast is to document and share the experiences of two young business owners as we open our own brick and mortar chiropractic practices. Join along as we discuss all of our wins, our losses, insights, and the many, many lessons we learned.
As a disclaimer, none of this is ever intended to be medical, legal, or financial advice.
So to start things off today, we wanted to introduce not only who we are, but where we're at in the process. As we mentioned in the intro, we are two young business owners, chiropractic practice owners. And so, Spencer, let us know, where are you at in the process, as well as any lessons you've learned so far?
Yeah, so currently I am open in Argyle, Texas. And right now, my grand opening was October 25th. That was my very first day.
That was yesterday. Give him a round of applause.
Yeah, thanks. Started off strong with one new client, and then rolled into today another one. So this is my first week of practice. Currently, I just graduated chiropractic school in April of 2022, so about 6 months ago.
What?
And so just now licensed in Texas, and decided to open up my own brick and mortar after working for a corporate chiropractic chain for a while. That was a great experience, but I really decided that it was more important to me to create a more custom tailored experience for people. And I really just wanted to be able to share my authenticity with them outside of a corporate model.
That's awesome, man. How did you get into chiropractic?
Yeah, so I got into chiropractic when I was 15, actually. I had a football injury. Yeah, it goes way back to even farther back for that. But for now, so I had a football injury and went to the chiropractor and asked, like, hey, man, there has to be more to, like, just popping my back. Like, I can pop my own back, and, like, that there has to be something else to this. And so then he went into the how chiropractic really affects the nervous system and optimizes our brain-body connection. And then really what he did was he said it unlocks, like, the inner power of the body. And that's really what hit home for me. And from that day, I decided to be a chiropractor. So then I studied kinesiology at the University of Louisiana Lafayette, go Cajuns, and then transferred to Parker University after 2 years, and then finished my bachelor's in anatomy and health and wellness, and then my doctorate in chiropractic.
That's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so Zach.
Age of 15.
Yeah.
Age of 15. And now He is 22, 23.
25. Just turned 25 this past weekend, October 15th.
Young and stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Zach, tell us about where you're at right now too.
Yeah, so I am 3 weeks into being into business here in Colleyville. I graduated from chiropractic school back in December of 2021. And then I worked with another doc in the great Dallas city in the Oak Cliff neighborhood. Oak Cliff, that's my hood. I worked there for about, I would say 5 or 6 months, and then ventured out on my own into Colleyville, having just opened 3 weeks ago. Loving the process, loving getting to really watch the practice unfold. And it's kind of the way I've viewed it so far is it's a blank canvas. And so I have my ideal clientele. I have everything back office figured out, but in terms of the artwork and the people that are coming in, it's amazing. But yeah, I got into chiropractic because I too had a sports injury. I was trying to impress the football coaches at Salisbury University. Go Seagulls. I was trying to impress the coaches, squat the most on the team, and loaded up the bar with over 500 pounds, and never stood back up with it, and just demoralized my low back. I was on 8 Advil, 2 sleeping pills just to sleep at night as an 18-year-old, which for those asking at home, that is not ideal on the body. And after seeing 2 athletic trainers, a physical therapist, for those 5 months, I finally went to an orthopedic surgeon and was like, hey, man, I think I need surgery. Like, I can't tie my shoes. I can't go to the bathroom feeling good. Like, this hurts. And so we took some MRIs, and there was nothing he could do surgically. So he was like, look, man, we can't do surgery, but I can give you this bottle of Vicodin, which is a painkiller, an opiate painkiller, or you could check out the chiropractor in the hole. And I was like, well, I don't want to take the opiates as an 18-year-old. I know they'll work, but I'm looking for some function out of this. And so I go to the chiropractor basically as a last hope, if you will. I'd already seen, like I mentioned, many practitioners. And after 6 months of not being able to tie my shoes, this guy not only had me tying my shoes in a week and a half, but I was back in the gym putting up weight like I was prior to the injury. And I was immediately blown away at how he viewed the body and viewed function of our human potential. So I was hooked since then. Applied, I want to say like 5 or 6 months later to Park University. Graduated from undergrad 2018, and then started school. So that's how we ended up here.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I just think it's crazy how we're from totally different ends of the country.
I think Connecticut and Louisiana are the closest you can get in comparison of complete opposites.
Complete opposite worlds, yeah. But we really come from similar backgrounds. Like we both played offensive line, both coming from a sports injury, both found chiropractic at a pretty young age. And both of us coming from a pharmaceutical background, right? Like you were saying, like taking all the medication. And my mom and dad actually both were pharmacists, or still are pharmacists. Crazy how prevalent pharmaceuticals are. But something that is really unique, like in my story, is that my mom like never pushed pharmaceuticals on me as a child, which I think really kind of leaned me closer to chiropractic. But then both of us like coming to Parker and then really just becoming like really good homies, like really good friends, and then having a podcast that we've tried to start so many times.
We have tried to start this many times. It was a blessing, background for those listening. Spencer and I were a part of a club that, we showed up at 6 a.m. every morning, and then we both were key founding members of a fraternity on the campus of Parker University. So we've been through the mud, if you want to say, not just as offensive linemen in the trenches, but in the mud of getting things going. And so it's been a lot of fun to, basically go through this whole process with you, and then now starting this podcast, which is a really good segue, really nice segue into our topic of the day, which is sometimes, more often than not, you just have to start. You just have to do it. And as we mentioned, we have been trying to do this podcast now for, I think, a year and a half, maybe even since we started the fraternity together. But what do you think about the whole just starting? What does that mean to you, Spence?
Yeah, I think like you just have to take the leap with things. If you were learning something new and you were already an expert at it the first day, it really wouldn't be valuable, right? It would really hold no value like in your life. It wouldn't be a new skill, right? Then if you knew everything, there would be no point of there would be no new creation of anything, And so, just starting. That's the same way I really did with Camp Ozark. I didn't really know anything about it. That was a big point in my life. I was a camp counselor for kids for 2 summers, way far away from home. And I just took the leap. I just started, and I had a great time, and it changed my life. And it's the same thing with chiropractic school. I didn't know how hard the school was going to be. I didn't know how much it was going to cost. I knew it would cost a lot. And I just started. It's the same thing with the practice. We don't get a lot of business training in school, but I know this is something I wanted. It's something I had in my vision. It's something I wanted to chase, and I just had to start. So I just had to take the leap. And I think if you talk to anybody who does anything at a high level, or you talk to anybody who specializes in anything, whether they'll tell you it's just start. Just take that leap. The same thing with this podcast. Trying to set it up, trying to test the mic. None of us are producers, and we said, let's just press record. Let's just start.
Producer Spencer. Yeah. Producer Spencer over here. He's going to chop this up, make it sound real good. But the point that you mentioned, where if you talk to anyone at a high level in any specialty, whether that's, LeBron James or Jeff Bezos or Alex Hormozi, all these guys that we all see now in their prime and really doing the thing, they had to start. Like LeBron didn't pick up a basketball and go slam dunk it and nail threes, even though he's not really doing that right now with the Lakers. But like he had to work really hard. And I think something I hear a lot, and yes, I'm very blessed before I say what I'm about to say, but I hear a lot, oh, you're lucky. And I think I like to think of it as I've created my luck by starting, by taking that leap of faith, like you mentioned, and really going all in. And if I've failed, I've failed. Like I know I'm gonna fail at things. It's what do I want to fail at? And I, for damn sure, do not want to fail at life. So I'm not gonna not try. And so just starting, whether that has been trying to lose weight, I'm still a little thick. But for so long, I have this background in exercise science. I have a doctorate degree in chiropractic. We are taught how to take care of our bodies. And it took me until about, if you want to say, year 7 of school to actually start trying to lose weight. I knew everything. I read all the books. I followed all the right people. I knew every diet. I knew the ins and outs. I knew the calories. I did all the research, but I never actually put it into practicality. And if you are someone that's like, I don't know if I want to start my business, I don't have enough knowledge, I don't have enough this, the longer you wait, like myself with my weight loss, you're just going to continue to stay where you're at. And if you're comfortable with that, by all means, continue to stay. But just start, put together a business plan, or open in your apartment. It doesn't take a lot, especially in the chiropractic profession. If you're doing it the right way, you just need a table. And so just start. Like we're going to say over and over again, but stop waiting for all the right pieces to fall into place, because they're never going to. And it doesn't matter who you talk to. It's never going to be, all the stars have aligned and now we go. It's, Mercury's in retrograde and you got to mess around a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, it's like failing forward, right? Putting one foot in front of the other every single day. I was talking to my mom about that after my first day in practice. Yesterday, I talked to my mom quite a bit. Mom, if you're listening, I love you. But it's about just,
Mom, I love you too. Don't think I don't.
Yeah. It's about just like moving forward every single day. Knowing that you're taking the steps to get to where you want to be. One thing that I see, people from Louisiana are always like really connected for some reason. Like we always tend to find each other in a strange way. We always know each other, but
because you'll talk different.
Yeah,
so that's just really easy to spot one another in a crowd.
That is true, but just something that I've noticed, like living in a different state from where I've grown up, is that people that come from my culture of like the Cajun culture, living on the Gulf Coast, you get hit with a hurricane all the time. And resiliency, right? Being able to face adversity and move forward for your next goal, and knowing that, you will face this adversity and you will face failure, but you just have to start somewhere, right? We can't just wallow in saying like, oh man, this is tough, life sucks, and just get stuck there, and having to move forward and take each and every step, knowing that you'll get closer away from where you're at currently. If we don't ever just start, then you'll just be where you want to be, which is unhappy, unsuccessful, not fulfilled for forever.
I think starting is what really turns a dream into a goal at a practical level. We can dream all day. We dream when we're asleep. Like it just happens. Whether they're good dreams or bad dreams. If you're dreaming all the time, but you're never actually putting anything to use, and you're never, like Spencer said, putting that best foot forward, you're going to be stuck in dreamland. And so to bring yourself back down to earth, establish your dreams, write it on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter how they're dreams, they're not goals. So make them as impractical as possible. And then from there, start to put together some goals and put some action into them, or else they're going to stay those dreams, and you're never going to accomplish what your heart desires or what your mind knows you're capable of. You're just going to be stuck dreaming. Disneyland's great, but at some point you have to leave the amusement park.
Yeah. That's really why we kind of started this podcast, right? Is because I was, Zach and I, we talk pretty often, and one day we were on the phone and we were saying like, man, like I wish that someone who was going through what we did would have recorded and like talked about the things that are going on, like yesterday, first opening day, and, straighten all the frames, vacuum the floor, put on the diffuser, turn on the music, turn on the lights and stuff. And I unlocked the door.
What was the first song you played in your practice?
I have no idea. I just have a really long playlist and I just press shuffle.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. But yeah, you unlock the door and it's like, oh, this is so real. This is so like, this is mine. I have all this responsibility. And like, from what I've dreamed like for 15 years, like I just turned the key on that. And yeah, that kind of hit me. And I took a moment and then I freaked out because I was like, wow, no one is in here, like right whenever I opened my door. And then, but I was like, I have an appointment at 1, which is great.
Which is huge.
And just feeling like, this is the slowest that it ever will be for the rest of time, so like being very grateful for the beginnings and for the, like, I'm really scared moments.
Yeah. And I think what you said, like you opened the doors and no one was there. For me, it was very similar. I was blessed to have, this isn't a comparison, but I was blessed to have 4 people show up on my first day. Granted, I was in practice in Dallas for 5 or 6 months, so I was able to build up that clientele. But, you walk in and in your mind, in your heart, it's such a big deal. Like you're like piñatas, balloons, loud music. It's a party. And you open the door and I mean, sure, you can make it a party, but there's just you. It's just you in that room and you can play your music, you can vacuum, you can straighten the frames. But it becomes very real that it's all on you. And I know Spencer's and I's relationship with God is very similar. It's a lot of conversations with the big fella about, how much do I trust you? Am I willing to take this leap of faith, as we keep saying? And so it's just a lot of fun to go through the very beginnings. And like Spencer said, that's our vision and our goal of this podcast is to shed light, because you talk to so many people, the big names in chiropractic, and they're 15, 20 years into practice. And it's like, what was it like when you started? And they don't remember, which is totally fine. I'm not asking them to remember, but there is no documentation of, okay, this is what day 1 looked like. This is what day 30 looked like. And so I'm really excited to watch this podcast from, October 26th, 2022, grow into whatever the heck it's going to grow into in, October 26th, 2027, when we're both 5 years in practice. And, who knows if podcasts will even be a thing in 10 years, but sure hope so. But super excited to kind of craft this as we're crafting our practice and share with y'all our experiences, because we're going to go through a lot. We're going to dive into a lot of nitty gritty stuff. We're going to have, some guest podcasters on as well, guest speakers. That's the right word. They're not podcasters, but guest speakers that will also share their experiences and really trying to show that chiropractic, yes, it's a very niche business, but it's still a business at the end of the day. And I think we can learn a lot when we start to not only look at chiropractors for business advice. So we plan to bring on guests that aren't chiropractors so that we can hear their experiences as well.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about like starting points, right? Like you had brought up, like, yeah, you had 4 people like come in on your first day of your own brick and mortar, but I mean, there were differences in our starting points, right? Like you started like really kind of as an independent contractor, right? Still creating your own practice, where like I was in like a corporate setting where, all the marketing is done for you. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, tell me about your experience, like a little bit as the independent contractor, and then like how you, the difference, like the shift for you, like in comparison of having your own brick and mortar versus like being a different establishment.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I was blessed to have a mentor be like, hey, do you want to come? Like, he basically put his arm around me and gave me a place to explore what practice was like. And so being in Oak Cliff, it's an amazing neighborhood, very different than Colleyville. And so I didn't really know anyone in Oak Cliff, just like I don't really know anyone in Colleyville. But I was very timid when I first started. Like, I don't mind admitting, it was hard for me to go to another business and hand out my business card. I don't necessarily know why. I don't know if it was because I didn't necessarily own the practice. That's not an excuse. I'm not trying to throw out an excuse, but it was an experience. It was, a lot of people from Shoreline City in Dallas, the greatest church in Dallas. A lot of them, came in to support, and then it just over time, a few referrals or going to a networking group. I never saw much fruition at that time from Facebook and Instagram ads, I think because of geographical location. But I also was only there for, like I said, 4 or 5 months. So I never saw things start to unfold to now, for that first 3 or 4 days in February of 2022, I didn't really have anyone coming in. Like I had like 1 or 2 people, and that was it. And it was scary. It was driving home on I-75 in Dallas in rush hour traffic thinking, what the heck did I just get myself into? Why did so many moments of, should I just go take an associateship? So much fear of, well, how's this going to look when I do open brick and mortar? And so it was a lot of fun in that regard. Yeah. And then transitioning into Colleyville, just a lot more confidence, owning my own practice, knowing that it's like, this is mine, was huge for me. So yeah, that was my experience. I don't know if I answered your question at all.
But. Yeah, I mean, it's really more of just a bullet point that we just to talk around. Yeah, I mean, I graduated school, right? And then there's this misconception that there's a race to start your own practice and get licensed first. Who's gonna do that, And then so anyway, I took a really great stepping stone job that provided a lot of good finances for me and a lot of experience. I gained a lot of skills and clinical skills and a lot of reps. And that was awesome. And then I was like, you know what, let's just start this, taking the leap, getting off of the handcuff. And that was great.
And I think that's a really good talking point maybe for the next episode of that comparison that occurs when you're in school to want to open the business first or get licensed first or do this or that. And so it'd be a lot of fun to deconstruct that on a full episode.
Yeah. So next episode, we'll probably get into some of that licensing, the post-grad race, maybe a little bit of our grad school experience. But yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, just thank you so much for listening. Please leave us a review and some feedback because, we're just starting this and we're out on a whim right now. We're learning as we go. So if you're an experienced podcaster or if you'd like to be a guest on our show, please just leave us some feedback. We'd love to hear it. Share it with someone who's also starting their own business, or if you just think that we're cool, just get us out there. Thank you so much again. I'm Dr. Spencer Dupre of Empower Chiropractic in Argyle, Texas.
And I am Dr. Zach Thompson of Within Chiropractic in Colleyville, Texas. And one more thing to add on top of that is immense gratitude for those listening. If you are a student or if you are a listener, and you have a question, drop it. Let us know. Send us a DM on Instagram. I'm at Dr. Zach Thompson on IG, Facebook, TikTok, and leave us a question, and we'll eventually get to it. So.
Yep, and I'm at Spencer Dupre DC on Instagram, Facebook, all those things too. But thank you for listening to the What Now podcast.
What?
That one.